And we are live.
Cool.
Yep. Okay. Let's wait. Okay. People have started joining. Hello, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from the different countries, from the different cities. I really feel like, how we are decentralized and how we are actually making the things of the blockchain, like being a decentralized, still connected and doing things.
Yeah, it's wild, huh? Like we have that term decentralized. Yet sometimes it feels like we're more connected than ever with
Yeah.
on blockchain. So it's really interesting to see that correlation.
Yep. Let me introduce myself. I I will be I'm almost here on every Thursday or a Friday in front of you with different types of workshops, and today we are back with Thirdwebs. We will be diving deep into the building crypto payment gateways with the Thirdwebs pay engine. I'm very excited because this is going to be the new topic for me as well. So I'm gonna learn so much. So I'm pretty sure that we're gonna have a lot of questions on this from my side particularly. So let me introduce myself. Those who don't know me, I'm the Nidhi Nakrani, Devrel from the Metis L2, and I welcome Joe from the Third Web as a solution engineer. We welcome you all as well. Thank you so much for joining us, for giving your valuable time to us. And we'll make sure that you go with something on hand, some practical knowledge on your hand. So we will be waiting for 1 more minute. I think we do have enough people, but just 1 more minute and we'll start. Hi, Kobe. How are you? Kobe is our regular viewer, and we love you.
It's great when you have regular viewers come in. Kobe,
Yeah,
hello, welcome once
he's
again.
always active. He's always active in the workshops, in the post, and every live stream. He's always with us.
Cool.
Love you as well. Cool. So let's get started. We're gonna dive deep into the building crypto payment gateways with using the Thirdweb's pay engine, and we do have a lot of not a lot of, but yeah, 4 or 5 workshops with Thirdweb, which we have done previously every week. So if you want to find it, feel free to go to the YouTube and check out in the live past streams, which will be useful if you are building applications, if you want to integrate your custom wallets, and if you want to build Telegram mini app, we do have the workshop on that as well. We do have workshop on account abstraction, so which could be very helpful for if you're building any tab on the blockchain web3, particularly on the metas. It would be very good. So let's get started. Handing over to you, Joe.
Cool. Well, thank you again, Needy. Always a pleasure to be here. And one thing I do want to mention is you mentioned our Telegram mini app workshop. We actually just came out with a Line mini app workshop guides and to dos as well. So maybe that's a future session we can do. But yeah, just wanted to put that out there. Hello, everyone. I am Joe. I am a solutions engineer here at Thirdweb, and it is my job to help you all get integrated and start building on blockchain. If you already are building your apps on blockchain, guess what? This is a way to extend those apps as well through our toolkit on the Metis chain, which we support fully. And yeah, today's going to be exciting. Today, we are talking a lot about payment gateways, about cryptocurrency, tokens, on ramps, whole bunch of jargon is going to be thrown your way. Don't worry if you are a total beginner. This is going to be beginner friendly. We're going to step every piece of the way and help you guys through it, understand exactly what some of these terms mean, and understand what it might take to get these kind of functionalities within your app. So, everyone, if you're totally new here, guess what? You're in the right spot. And so, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen with you all. It's going to be a bit of a presentation. And then, of course, throughout the entire flow, if you have any questions, feel free to just pipe in. No need to wait till the end or anything like that. I really do enjoy when people in the audience kind of interact and jump in. Needy, singles with you. Any questions, feel free to just hop in as always. Cool. So let me share my screen here.
Let me add it to the stage and perfect.
Cool. So hello, as I mentioned before, I am with a Thirdweb, and for anyone new joining us in our session today, remember, as Needy mentioned, we've done quite a few of these sessions with Metis already. We absolutely love them, and every time we do them, we see that people find so much value from each session. So, if you haven't heard from us before, if this is your first time, guess what? We're going to go ahead and walk you through what Thirdweb is real quick. At its core, Thirdweb is a full stack open source development platform. And what does that mean? What it means, we cover a wide variety of toolings, platforms, and even development toolkits that you guys can use for your DApp integration. So, what is Thirdweb? This is our new kind of graphic. Before we've had something very similar, but we've recently expanded even further in our full stack um, journey. And so this means that we have everything a developer needs for front end, for your back end, for your on chain. And newly built out is our infrastructure layer. So as a developer in blockchain, as a developer in Web3, these are all the pieces you're going to be touching. You need each and every one of these components to have successful apps. And Thirdweb is a tool set where you can get it all in a single platform, all in a single place. And you can even get started for free with all of these tools. So front end, what do we talk about front end? What do we mean? We mean our connect components, which we'll be talking about today. We'll be talking about how to connect wallets. We'll be talking about the social login stuff. We'll be talking about the core of today's topic is pay, right? In this front end bucket, how we can get users to on ramp funds, how we can get users to onboard into our applications and start transacting through them. We have back end buckets that we offer as well. So if you guys are sending a lot of transactions and you need some sort of management system, you can do that through Thirdweb Engine, and this can do everything from handling all of these transactions, handling retries, announce management, gas sponsorships. You can use our API, our API endpoints to interact with it. So you don't have to learn a whole new language. You can actually just use simple HTTP fetch requests, and you guys are up to speed in no time at all. And then we have our on chain smart contract stuff. So if you guys need any sort of very common smart contracts, you can go ahead and use our pre builts. If you guys want to create your own, guess what? We have tools for that. If you want to customize your own contract, we can do that as well. And finally, the infrastructure layer. This is going to be our RPC Edge network. Think of it as a very performant load balancer, right? You are not sending transactions to a single source. You are now encompassing our Edge network for these transactions, and you guys can rest assured that your transactions will go through successfully. And finally, on infrastructure is Insights. This is our indexer. If you guys are looking for data, Insights is going to be a great tool. Again, all API based. You guys can build your own queries. You don't have to do subgraphs. This is simple HTTP fetch requests once again, and that is going to be the entire product suite, right? This is everything you guys get with Thirdweb. So for anyone new, you are in the right place at the right time. You can start building your apps with Thirdweb along on the Metis chain. We have both their testnet and their mainnet supported. And we're going to go through a little bit about that today with Pay. So, Thirdweb Pay, right? What we're here for, what the topic of today's session is going to be about. This is going to be, again, we're focusing on how we on ramp funds, right? How individuals, customers within our applications can interact with our dApps. And maybe we need to onboard some tokens. Maybe we want to allow them to pay for some certain assets, and we don't want to build a whole new payment system, right? This is blockchain. So we want to utilize tokens within our ecosystem. Maybe we want to allow users to onboard directly with a credit card, right? All of this stuff is going to be a part of today's discussion. So, what is pay, right? I've kind of touched a little bit about it, but pay is this, right? So, I really like showing these kind of UI diagrams first because it kind of helps people understand. So, on the left hand side here, we have a very neat UI where people can say, "Hey, I want to pay with a credit card, or maybe I want to pay with crypto." Right? It's a simple UI that you guys can use to offer your customers, your audience members, ways to onboard. And by onboarding, we mean, hey, there is usually some sort of token, right? That you guys want to use. Maybe it's on Base, maybe it's on Metis that you guys want to onboard these tokens on. And so you want to give an option to your users to convert to these tokens. Not everyone knows what a wallet is. Not everyone knows how to fund wallets. And people really do respond to a familiar payment flow, right? We've all been on the websites where maybe like Amazon, eBay, and it's really just, hey, if you want to purchase this item, you can either do so by credit card or you can do by another payment method that you might find familiar. So, Web 2 people, they find credit cards familiar. Maybe Web 3 natives find crypto familiar. And so we have both options for your users. And this UI comes with, end-to-end support. So you can do from the left-hand side at the very beginning, let's show our users what they might be purchasing. In the middle, you can show a kind of before you buy, this is how much you'll receive. This is maybe a fee for it. This is roughly the time it might take to fund your wallet, right? Different chains have different times. Guess what? Metis is actually really, really fast at this. And then at the end, you have a success or fail screen, right? So ideally, user comes through this flow. They are successful in onboarding, and then they can go through the rest of your application as you see fit. And so, what are some of the features of Pay? Right, we've talked a little bit about people, how people might use it, and what are some of the things that Pay can offer these individuals in onboarding. So, one is we do enable in-app purchases. So this is going to be really big for things like gaming apps, right? Gaming apps are especially in the iOS and Android ecosystems. Payment processing in gaming apps can be a hassle. If you built games in these kind of environments before, you know that, hey, everyone wants a cut, right? So I think Apple has its own percentage fee. Android, anything going through Google Play Store has its own fee, right? And then this is only when you guys do purchases through their native payment systems, right? So there's a concept called in-app purchases, where essentially you, as long as the user doesn't leave the app, you're not you're not forced to use these other payment processings, right? So you're not forced to go through iOS, you're not forced to go through Android. And so this is another option for individuals, especially in the mobile space, to not, lower costs, which benefits both the business as well as your customers, right? Now they're paying less and their experience is going to be a little bit easier, a little bit more good feeling, right? They're not paying $30, they're paying $22, right? For whatever token that you guys might want. And then another thing is that we have flexible integrations for Pay. We're going to go through each one of these and you're going to see just how customizable, how easy, and how performant some of these integrations are, right? Again, Thirdweb is a open source toolkit. So this means that we have opportunities for everyone to include maybe a new format if you find it valuable. And so, honestly, that's where some of these ideas came from. People came in, said, hey, we would love if Pay had this integration. So, guess what? We built it out. We'd love if Pay had X, Y, Z. We love it. We source those ideas, bring it in, and always improve our products that way. So, along with these two, we also have some very cool options for developers. So not only can Pay, as you saw and see in this image, not only can it do credit card transactions, but it can also do crypto swaps, meaning you guys are able to swap from one chain and currency to another chain and currency. And from a developer point of view, we actually have a fee sharing model. So anytime a developer who utilizes Pay and crypto swaps come through, you guys get 70% of this crypto to crypto transaction fee. So credit card transactions, there is no additional fee that we put on each transaction. You guys are free to use it. All of the kind of fee structure will come from the underlying provider depending on who you use, but we don't take any cut of that. The cryptos to crypto swaps, we do put a 1% fee on top, but you, the developers, get 70% of that 1% fee. So for every dollar that you guys go through crypto to crypto swaps, you guys get 70 cents of that transaction. So it's just another way for you guys to be able to extend your runway, build up your capital, and ensure that your businesses, survive the long term. Your dApps that you build can actually become profitable, and you guys can continue to run them. So that 70% fee sharing is automatic. When you guys set up pay, it is going to already be set to your wallet address that you guys have your Thirdweb dashboard under, and that will go through. You can customize it if you want to send it to a different wallet address. You can do that. If you want to adjust any of the other features, you can do that in the dashboard as well. And finally, we have global coverage. So Pay is actually available in over 130 different countries. So you guys can, build out an app, and you can target not only the US audience, but maybe the UK audience. Maybe you want to go the Asian audience as well. You guys are covered under Pay's global coverage. It doesn't really matter. We do have a section on our doc site that's utilizes what countries we don't support, right? It's actually easier for us to list the countries that we don't support versus all of the countries that we do. And so this is one of the biggest features in my opinion, is that hey, no matter where your users are, you can probably get them covered with Pay to onboard. So that means they can use either credit cards or crypto transactions for your applications. So that's a little bit about the features for Pay and what it can help and offer your applications. If you guys are thinking about building any sort of app where money is involved, right? Some fiat currency, this is a great tool. If you guys want to stay purely crypto, you can do that with this as well. We do have customization options that you guys can say, hey, you know what? I only want to offer crypto swaps to my users on my app. And so you can absolutely include those customizations as well. And so why do we need Pay, right? What is this? Cool. I understand what it is, right? I understand it helps facilitate payments. It helps facilitate fiat on apps, but why? Right? Isn't the whole point of blockchain and Web3 that I don't have to go through traditional banking? Right? I don't want to. I want to use my MetaMask. I want to use my tokens in my wallet. I don't want to be doing swaps or having to mess with credit cards. Cool. Like I said, we can do those kinds of customizations, and you as a developer can set that up. But we have to understand that there's a whole audience, a bigger audience of Web2 natives that are more comfortable with credit cards. They're more comfortable with, hey, what is a bridge site? I don't know what that is, right? What's a swap site? I don't Uniswap and Sushi Swap and what is all this? These sound like made up names, right? I understand things like MasterCard, Visa, and my banking systems, right? So why do we need Pay? Well, we need to support not only these traditional Web2 users, but also bring a sense of familiarity to really grow the pie in Web3, to really showcase, hey, you know what, it's all not crypto scams and rug pulls. Pay is here to help you understand that you can use a credit card and interact with blockchain, right? They're not two entirely separate pieces. They can work together, and they can be a central form. So Pay is all about that. But guess what, there are some actual use cases for Pay that we've had users use. So one is, there's a whole bunch of tokens, right? So I love this image. I found it at the link below, and there's a whole bunch of tokens, and we need a way to support these kinds of tokens, these swaps. There's a bunch of different chains. There's a lot, right? And so how do we start managing, and how do we start handling some of this stuff? Again, this is what I mentioned. If I'm a Web2 user and I see all these kinds of different tokens, and I'm going to be overwhelmed, right? I'm not going to know exactly how to onboard. I'm not going to know what a wallet is to fund it. And so we need some way to kind of manage all this stuff. Go ahead, Needy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when we are the Web 2 users, it's a really headache when somebody says like how to actually deal with the cryptocurrencies.
Exactly, right? Like so it is it and I'm sure everyone here knows a friend, a family member where you've tried to explain blockchain and you've
Yeah.
tried to explain tokens, and they kind of just blank out. They're just like, that's too much for me. Right. Um so one way to someone's phone ringing.
Mine. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, no worries, no worries. You're good. So one way to get a handle on this is to offer that familiar solution, that familiar flow of here's a credit card. You can onboard. You don't even have to worry about the token, right? We can handle all of that in the back end. Don't worry about that. Here's a familiar flow for you where you see your pages, you see your on ramp, you see your how much you're going to pay, and you see what you're going to get out of it. Right? Very simple, a lot easier to look at. So, what are some of the use cases? Right? So here's actually a really great, and this game is already out. It's called, and it's by Infinigods. And so gaming is a really great use case, right? And these guys actually use our pay product in their application. I mean, these guys are selling packs, hundreds of packs a day through their application. And so, one of the greatest things about pay is that it allows you to do things like you can sell in game assets, right? If you're building a game out and you want to sell character skins, maybe you want to sell items within your game, or like here you want to sell packs, right, in your game. Guess what, you can do that through pay. And so here, if you notice, they actually have their own in-game currency that they're selling it in. It's a On the back end, it's a traditional ERC20 token. Think of ERC20 tokens as another form of currency. Anyone can build them, anyone can create them, and then you guys can offer your items for that token currency. So this is actually a really great use case. It's by Infinigod. It's called Kings of Destiny. You guys should absolutely go check it out. It has a great mobile experience as well. As I mentioned, you guys can go through the flow, see everything it takes, and you'll notice, hey, it doesn't really feel like crypto. It doesn't feel like Web3. It doesn't feel like blockchain. It feels like a very familiar Web 2 game, right? Where I can click buy a pack, it goes through the flow. Oh, enter your credit card information. Here's your total price, and here's what you get out of it. Right? It's nothing like, well, let's first on ramp tokens to your wallet. Let's then swap them. All of that is abstracted away, and it is a really great example of Thirdweb Pay in a live environment. So games are going to be an absolutely great resource for Thirdweb Pay. And so next up, we have also social apps. We have a lot of people who are building, decentralized social. They've looked at the space and they want to say, hey, let's kind of expand here. And so we have things like tipping or other paid functions, right? So if you guys are looking to build some sort of social application, there's always a place for monetization in these types of applications, right? We look at Twitter, we see things like Twitter Blue or whatever their verification system is called. Guess what? Imagine you can do that through blockchain, right? You can offer people to not only on ramp through fiat, but also through token swaps. So gaming is cool. Social apps are another opportunity for you all to utilize these kind of payment systems and these flows. And then next up is how do we integrate, right?
This is
So
the main question now.
go
How
ahead.
to
Yeah, go
integrate?
ahead.
Yeah, this is the main question now. How do we integrate?
Yeah, yeah. This is right. So cool, Joe. You've sold me. I love Pay. I want to be able to have all of my applications utilize Pay. How do I do it? Right. So here at Thirdweb, again, we're full stack. Right. So this means we want to make sure you guys are able to do everything you need to do in whatever manner you want to do. So there are going to be quite a few options for you, and we're going to go through. It could seem a little overwhelming. This is kind of why I love these little empty blue screens, right? But we're going to go through each and every one of them. So there are going to be a few options on Thirdweb Pay and how we integrate. So this is four main. There are four main options, right? And these are kind of our biggest components here. And each of the images here on the right will show a different version of pay. So of the four main options, the most common you'll see is through our connect button. So if you've built apps in Thorough before, if you've looked at some of our documentation, maybe you've done some simple React code, you guys know that the connect button component is everywhere, right? It's your login system. It's what people usually use for individuals who come into your app and connect their own wallets, maybe their own email accounts, all of this stuff. Pay is actually already supported in that connect button. So for anyone out there in this presentation who's using this connect button already, go to your apps, click on connect, and you'll see some options for buying, sending, and selling currencies on that connect button, right? Again, we'll go through it a little bit. We'll go in a little bit of a deep dive on what that looks like. And then the next comment that you'll see is this option on the right, this get funds portion here. This is known as our pay embed. Sometimes you don't want to have it all live in your connect button component. Sometimes you want to break it out and you want to show it to a user outside of any other components. And so that's what our pay embed is designed for. It is your solution to, hey, maybe I just want a very simple UI interface with a button that users don't have to dig through, right? Connect button is cool. Users have to dig through a little bit to get to it. We'll go over that in a little bit. And then after the embed, we have transaction flows, and transaction flows are really cool in that they allow you to do transactions directly. You don't have to have a UI. You can set it up to where the UI pops up only when it's needed, right? You can actually hide it from users. And then in that transaction flow, we have a couple different options. We have things like direct payments, where maybe you just want to send currency to a wallet instead of a transaction, right? Or you can do a transaction where maybe you want to claim an NFT for a user, right? You receive some funds and then you perform some sort of action after receival of the funds, right? Then you can go ahead and send NFTs, send tokens, whatever in that gaming example where people were getting packs, right? That's an example of transaction. Funds would come in, a transaction to send the pack would kick off to the user after funds were received. And so that's one flow that you guys can see. And we'll talk about a little bit here as well.
I
And then
think,
finally, go ahead.
yeah, sorry, I do have a question. So, does this mean that this all four or five options, the third web already have a plugin or something, that kind of thing, that we can directly integrate using that thing? We can directly integrate the, I mean, let's say the connect button, we can directly use the
Yep.
connect button, just like, I mean, writing just one line of code.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're going to go through some of this code options as well. But yes,
Perfect.
the answer is yes. We have all of this code that you guys can use. Um, we've shown the playground here before. We're going to do it again in this session. It is going to be your best option for getting these code snippets because you
Yeah.
can literally copy and paste them, and
Are we
and
going
it's
to
actually what I'll show. Go ahead.
yeah, are we going to see the transaction flow? Because I'm very excited to see the direct payment and the transaction one section.
Yeah, so the transaction flow is interesting in that we won't it's hidden in the back end, right? You can absolutely expose it through that custom UIs flow, which we'll talk a little bit about how that's done. But the transaction flow from a user UX perspective, it's very cool. You click a button, you wait a couple seconds, boom, a pop-up occurs, and you guys have your new NFT, your assets, what have you. Um, so that's from a user UX perspective, it is very clean and simple. I'll show you what that looks like. And
It's
if you want to see exactly what's happening step by step, that's where our custom UI is going to be able to help you all out here. So let's go ahead and start with the connect button, right?
yeah,
As I mentioned, this is the easiest to integrate. You guys who have built dApps using Thirdweb already probably have already seen this. You've probably already looked through what this looks like in our documentation. It utilizes our React components, so it is super simple to put into any sort of website. It comes with all of our logins, right? You can do things like in-app wallets, so social logins, maybe through Gmail, through Apple, Facebook, all of these integrations. We've actually done quite a few of these kinds of sessions where we walked through our connect button and how to customize it. So if you need a reminder, feel free to look at any of the other Thirdweb Metis sessions that we have on it. We've done one with wallets. That's going to be your biggest resource and reference point there. And then, of course, this comes pre-configured. So this means that if you put in this connect component, everyone is going to see kind of the same UI for it. It is not as customizable as some of the other options, but hey, it is the easiest to integrate, and you guys will have the fastest time to launch with our connect button component. And so that's the connect button. I'm going to show you also the embed, and then we're going to go over to the playground, and I'll show you the code snippets exactly on what this takes to integrate. So the embed, as you can see, it looks a little bit different. On the right hand side, you can see the UI. Right, it's a little bit more broken out. It's a little standalone, and so that's one of the options, right? It can be its own standalone component. You don't have to force people to go in through the connect button every single time. You can actually build out a little widget that people can interact with directly instead of through the connect component. Again, our pay embed is still at its core React component. You guys can bring it into your code snippet. You can customize it somewhat, like pre-fills, what kind of mode you want to do, direct or some sort of transaction kickoff. You can do that through our pay embed as well. And again, it utilizes sign in. So if a user is signed in, they'll see this get funds option. If not, it'll just prompt them to sign in, and then they can go on from there. So from here, I'm actually going to go to our playground here. And so if you haven't already, I'll go ahead and put this link into the chat so Needy can disperse it to you all. This is our playground. If you haven't seen it already, I urge everyone to go ahead and take a look. Our playground is going to be your best friend when it comes to figuring out what the code snippet looks like, figuring out what the UI is, what the developer experience is on all of our components. And so the playground is absolutely free. You don't have to create an account, you don't have to enter any sort of credit card information. This is your free sandbox to mess around and play with our components. Feel free to touch, pull, click, flip all of these buttons. You're not going to break anything. Again, this is a sandbox environment for you all to get comfortable and learn what our components consist of. So first off, we're going to go through our connect button, right? Remember, this was our connect button here, right? Was our initial option. It's the easiest to integrate. It's going to be the fastest uptime. And so what does that look like code wise? Right. So if I go here on this code tab, again, this is why I love the playground. If I go here on this code tab, you can see exactly what it takes to get that button into your application. Right. So from a UI perspective, boom, that's all you need. You can actually leave out all of this and you're still good to go. We have some pre-configured options for you all, but if you want to configure, again, you can do that here. The playground's going to be where you can do things like, hey, maybe I don't want X or emails, so I can actually get rid of them, right? So that is going to be the power of the playground for you. In terms of pay, right? If I'm looking for pay, all I need is connect button, right? And then you can specify your client, which you get your client ID in your Thirdweb dashboard. And then you can mess with any of these customization options if you'd like, but really all you need is connect button and client and you're good to go. So what does that look like? So from a UI perspective, if I were to click on this connect button, I'm going to see this lovely sign in and I'll be able to say, okay, as a user, I can connect maybe a wallet. So I'll go ahead, connect the wallet. Now, where's pay? Right? This whole session is about pay, and you're just showing me connect. Pay is actually available within our connect button components as a feature. So if you were to click into your wallet, right, your little modal there will pop up, and you'll see things like, hey, send, receive, and buy. Right. So pay is going to exist as part of these three functions. If I were to say I want to send something, I can actually send tokens and cryptocurrency. If I'm a user and I want to purchase some tokens, guess what? I can hit buy here and I can start messing around with it. I can go to, hey, what network do I want? Well, I probably want Metis, right? So if I look at Metis network, we can actually select the Metis token and I can say, hey, I want to purchase one Metis, right? Nothing too crazy, just very, very just to get started, let's get one Metis. And guys, if you don't know already, Metis actually goes a long way. You don't need a whole lot to make a lot of transactions. One Metis will probably last you, I'd say, couple 100,000 transactions. It is very gas efficient, this chain. So if you guys haven't already looked at it, be sure to check out how gas efficient Metis is as a blockchain. And so with pay, if you remember, we have a couple different options. We have crypto swaps. So what's a crypto swap? Well, I have an opportunity, right? I have some ETH in my wallet. Also have some Polygon in my wallet. Let's say I wanted to pay for this Metis with ETH, right? I can say, hey, let's go ahead and click on ETH. And then, oh, well, I'll need a bigger one. And I don't have enough ETH for this price quote. But essentially, what it'll say is, okay, if you want to swap between ETH and Metis, that's an option, right? What if I were to say, I think I have enough for zero point zero 0.01 or zero point 0.1 rather. Let's see if I have enough for that. Nope, I don't have enough ETH for that. So these swaps are here for you. You guys can utilize them in your opportunity. But again, not only can you do swaps, but you can also do credit cards. So say I wanted to get one Metis in credit cards, right? So if I were to do this, pay with credit card, you'll actually see a price quote pop up here. Usually, it looks like our Thirdweb playground is having a little bit of an issue, but you'll see a price quote pop up, and so it will show, hey, how much in USD do you want to get? What is the provider you want to use? We actually have a couple options. When I did this earlier, Coinbase was at $23. Stripe as a provider was at $25. And so you can actually say, hey, what provider do I want to use for this kind of transaction? And you can specify here. That way users can get their own kind of price. They can shop around for what the best option is and see what that looks like. And so that is the connect button. That's what it looks like as you guys try and onboard through connect button. As you saw, pretty cool, right? Like easy to set up. It's a simple component, but not much customization, and users kind of have to dig in, right? It's 1, 2 clicks for a user to come in. So as we know, as we build out our apps, the more clicks a user has to do, the less likely they're probably going to stick around, right? Every time a user has to switch a screen or go do a click, it's going to be an opportunity for them to leave your app. And we don't really want that. So another option is through our pay embed, right? As we saw. And so here on the left hand side on the playground, you can actually click on pay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on top up. And so on the embed, you can see a couple different things. On this top up one, we're going to do this mode, right? So pay embed has a couple different modes. One is fund wallet, which you saw earlier, right? We have this opportunity here to say, hey, what do I want this embed to function as? And so if I want this to be a simple wallet funding, you can do that. You can specify that. You can say, hey, is there any sort of metadata around this that you want? Maybe you want to change this name, right? You can do that here. Do you want to pre-fill any of this stuff? So maybe instead of base, I want this to say Metis, right? So you can define that chain for Metis, and as well as the amount that you want a user to pre-fill a wallet for, right? And again, if I were to disconnect my wallet, this option here on the embed is actually going to be, hey, you're not connected. You can still see all this cool stuff. You can still interact with it. But, at the end of the day, you're going to have to connect some sort of login, right? So it's whether it's a MetaMask wallet, an email address, however you guys decide your logins to function, you can actually do that through Pay as well. And again, we can go here, select the network. We'll type in Metis. We'll go ahead and get our Metis. And so here is going to be the same flow as we saw in connect button, right? I can say, hey, I want one Metis. I can continue. I can see our swaps. I can see credit card options that users will see all within the embed. If you notice, I didn't have to click into my profile. I didn't have to click this buy option. It is already surfaced and available to me at the very top. And so that is going to be the main difference between a connect button and the embed component, right? So you can actually see some value and where you might choose for each option. If your application doesn't really have a lot of fiat on ramping, guess what? Your connect button component is probably going to be useful. If your application has some sort of either fiat on ramps or a lot of transactions, like you want to purchase assets, The embed is going to be a little bit easier for your users to use, right? It's surfaced a little bit more at the top level. You don't have to dig around for it, and you can do some sort of customizations as well. And so that's the embed and the connect component. Now, embed has a couple different modes, as I mentioned. So we have this fund wallet mode, which you'll saw here, but then we also have things like commerce, right? So if you want to do things like, hey, I just want a user to be able to send me funds from their wallet into a wallet that I set up, right? And then this is really useful if you have some sort of physical good, right? Or you have some sort of process that kicks off in the back end. Maybe you have a subscription service and all you're doing is setting a flag on your back end, true or false, whether a user's accounts is in good standing, right? You can actually use this direct payment mode on pay and bet. So let's break down pay and bet a little bit. I really love this example on our.
I just have
Go
one
ahead.
question. Yeah,
Yeah.
is it this easy to just set up? I mean, just to say that mode in a mode parameter that direct payment, and we are just set to run the code, use the
Yep.
direct payment code. Oh my
Yep.
god.
Exactly. So, and this is why I wanted to show the playground because we have this copy button on all of our code, right? So this is how simple it is to set up your payment gateways with Thirdweb Pay. So you can actually, if I wanted to, I could just copy and paste all of this code right here. This is our embed component. And then I can change any of the options here. Maybe I can change the chain, the amount. I can change what the address, right? What address I want to send everything to. All of this metadata, right? The name at the top that appears, the image that shows here. I can change all of it. All of it is customizable with our pay embed. I can even say, hey, I want dark mode, right? I want to make it a little bit easier on my user's eyes. All within pay embed. And so direct payment, what this was going to do is if I were to say, hey, I'm selling this hoodie. When a user clicks on this hoodie, on this button, I want to be able to receive funds from their wallet. And then on the back end, right, outside of blockchain, outside of Web3, I'm going to kick off a Shopify flow or whatever backend payment processing that you guys use. I'm going to kick off a flow that will fill out an order form and send this physical item to a user. From a pay perspective, all you need is the transfer of funds, right? And so if I'm a user, and again, I'll go ahead and disconnect my wallet here so you can see on the embed itself. Again, connect button. You can label this whatever you want in the metadata. If you want it log in or sign up or whatever, or even purchase, you can go ahead and click that. You'll see the component pop up. As you see here, it's a light mode component. If you were to change it to dark mode, this will change as well. Again, go ahead and connect my wallet. Very similar to what we just saw. And then I can just choose my payment method. Hey, do I want to pay with ETH for swaps? Right? Again, I can just do swaps. Do I want to use a credit card? I can do that as well for here. And so this is direct payment mode, right? What's going to happen is, as you see here, the amount I specify is going to go directly from my user's wallet into the account wallet that I specify. So it can be a wallet that I have, right? A traditional wallet. It could be a contract address, and I have that contract split the funds out for whatever I need, right? It can automatically do that. Um, this address is yours to control. It could be a safe wallet, a Gnosis safe wallet, right? So that when you withdraw, it takes multiple signatures for that to happen. Totally up to you, totally customizable. And then this is the direct payment method. So we've gone through what a top up looks like, right? Hey, let me just get funds into my wallet as a user. And now this direct payment is how do I get funds from my wallet as a user into the seller's account, right? How do I actually purchase something? And Needy, as you pointed out, it really is as simple as changing this mode. So if I were to look at top up once again, our mode was to fund a wallet. In commerce, if I'm doing this direct payment, our mode is direct payment. And so the pay embed actually is able to support another mode. And this mode is called transactions. Now, this transaction mode, again, mode, we just set it to transaction. This transaction mode is what you guys can use to kick off some sort of blockchain transaction, right? I can write to a contract using this mode. I can, send off a NFT for a mint using this mode. I can claim NFTs. I can do if it's a blockchain function, I can use this transaction mode to kick that off. Now, there's two ways to do it. You can either do it through a pay embed or you can do it standalone, which we'll go through a little bit as well. But the pay embed, again, very similar to everything else that we've seen. The only difference here is that now, if I'm minting an NFT, for example, if I were to click this button, instead of directly sending it to my account, right? If I'm sending funds directly from the user's wallet into my account, now what I want to do is I want to interact with a contract. And the contract, as we know, is what defines, hey, where are funds going to be sent? If I create an NFT collection, you guys know you set up a wallet address for royalties, you set up a wallet address for payments, right? First time sales, where does that funds go? You set up all of that for the contract level. And so Pay will actually utilize that information to perform these transactions. So for this example, I have this grumpy cat. And in my pay embed, what I'm saying is when a user clicks this button, this choose payment method button, and it goes through, I want to kick off a transaction. And that transaction is actually using our extension claim to. If you were here for our last workshop, we went through extensions. Great workshop. Go ahead and look it up if you want. And we're going to be interacting with a certain contract. We're going to be claiming a certain quantity. We're going to be claiming a certain token ID, right, for the user, and then we're going to send it to a certain user address. In this case, the one that's logged in. And so if I were to again click choose payment method, same thing. It's going to say, hey, how much do you want to pay? Do you want to pay with cryptocurrency? You want to pay with another wallet? How do you want to do it? And it's the exact same flow. Once I go through this flow, and the user is able to submit, then they're good to go, right? So let's see if we're actually able to get this up. We'll actually switch our network here. And so in the backend, as you saw, there was no pop-up that showed up. It just switched it. So now if I were to hit continue, I can confirm this and I'll actually have myself a grumpy cat, right? I'll actually able to pay, even though the cat itself is in base ETH, I'm actually paying mainnet ETH. And I can do that swap very, very easily, right? I can confirm it and I'll get that cat in my wallet. Very, very simple. So those are the main ways that I see a lot of our people use them, either through the connect button component or the pay embed. And so there are, as I mentioned, two other methods, and I want to show you those as well. So in pay embed, we went through. Now we have something called transaction flow, and this can be a little confusing, um, seeing as how pay embed has this transaction mode as well. But sometimes you don't wanna show the embed until you absolutely have to, right? Sometimes you want to be able to just maybe show a button, and if a user has enough funds, great. It goes through, it processes, it shows a success message. And when a user doesn't have enough funds, that's when you wanna show the UI, right? This is very useful, especially in mobile spaces, because screen real estate in a in a mobile screen, right? Like this is pretty tiny. Oh, my camera's actually this is pretty tiny, right? So real estate on a phone is small, and sometimes you don't want to show a whole lot of UI if you don't have to. And so we actually have something called this transaction flow. And so what happens is you can create your own button, right? Very common React components. You just button, name it, and then we have this sort of on click function. So if you guys have built websites before, if you've built some sort of DApp, you know that when you click a button, this on click function is what's going to be triggered when a user interacts with that button. And so in order to connect pay to something like this, very simple. Anytime a transaction has either cryptocurrency attached to it, right, where you're sending funds either from one wallet to another, such as in a mint to function, right? When people mint these items, there's some currency exchanges, right? When you guys set up these contracts, you decide how much you want to these currencies to cost, how much these items you want, how much you want these items to cost. You set all that up in your contract. And so on this transaction flow, if you were to click that button, it will do something very similar to what we saw in the embed, right? We set up what contract we're working with. We set up who we're minting this NFT to. We can set up our our metadata for that NFT, what the name is, the description, the image. It doesn't have to be a mint to function. It could be a claim to function where you already have all this set up, and it will look very similar to what we just saw in the pay embed, right? You can do things like maybe you want to burn. Maybe on this you want to you want to burn whatever NFT or asset you want to use, right? There is still a transfer of funds that have to happen to support the gas, right? Maybe you want to do some of the things like right. We actually in our previous workshop we did things with adoptions, right, where we're adopting cats or dogs. Um, and so if that flow was to showcase any sort of currency, then this pay embed would automatically be added as well. So the cool part is I can create my button, I can create my transaction, and then I can send it, right? So using my own button, I can send my transaction. And if I have enough funds, cool. Guess what? The flow goes through. I don't see any UI that I don't want my users to see. If I want to set up a success message, I can do that. If I want to set up a fail message, I can do that. But in the case where a user doesn't have enough funds in their wallet, then pay pops up. Then you can see the embed that's shown here where I can say, hey, here's the amount you need. Here's what you have. Here's an opportunity to buy that difference. Right. And again, you can either do it with credit cards, you can do it with crypto, what have you. And then the user can go ahead and go through that flow. And once they finish, your transaction can proceed. Right. So this is very powerful in situations where you want to hide some of the UI, where again, especially in the mobile space, you don't have a lot of screen real estate. So it is very helpful to only show it when it's absolutely necessary versus the embed where it's always on the screen all the time. Right. So those are going to be the big differences between the embed and this transaction flow. And so if you notice, this transaction flow actually looks a lot like our embed, right? It is very similar to our embed. UI wise, maybe it won't fit in my application. Guess what? We absolutely have an opportunity for you guys to build out your own custom UI. And so what does that look like? Right. So I'm going to actually go ahead and open this up for you all. So that way you can see what it looks like to build a entirely end-to-end custom experience. Now, this is a pretty heavy guide, so we're only going to go through a couple components, but this is going to be what you guys would do if you want a completely custom experience. And so that means your own UIs, your own flows, your own checks on how you're purchasing. Maybe you want to quote a different provider or at a different timing level for your experience, right? So we even mentioned it here, right? Pay Embed handles all of this already for you, and so you can absolutely do that to get integrated. But if you want a completely custom UI experience, this is going to be the guide to follow. And at its top level, what you do is first you get a quote, right? If a user is using fiat, you're going to get a quote with fiat. If a user is using crypto, you're going to get a quote with crypto. Pretty easy. Once you get this quote, you're going to be able to show that quote to the user. The user can interact with your UI. Again, all of this is going to be very customizable for you. Your user can interact with the UI and they can submit that transaction. You can actually pull for that status. And then at the end of the day, you can showcase what that looks like. So first up, right? Four steps. Get your quote, show your user interacts, and then you can get your transaction status from it. Four steps. So what does that look like? So first up, again, as always, when you build anything with Thirdweb, you're going to have your client ID. You can pull that in. And so we're going to first pull in our quote. So the quote is going to be how much a user has to pay. And so, for example, this is with fiat. How much a user has to pay in fiat to get whatever token currency you want them to onboard. That is going to be something like this, right? Again, this is more involved because we're allowing you to do your entire UI customizable. So you can only pull a quote when a user clicks a button. Totally, totally fair to you, right? You can wrap this in an odd click event. You can do this quote option in a polling scenario with webhooks, right? You can absolutely pull this information in a webhook format. So maybe you have a running ticker for a user to see when the price would be the cheapest, right? Absolutely possible for you here. Again, the goal of this flow is to give you guys full control over the UI and full control of when you want certain events to happen. So, for example, this get by with fiat quote. If I'm a user and I want to show them, hey, if you're going to purchase 0.01s of a token, in this case USD, um, what what does that quote? What does that look like, right? So this quote object is what you'll use, and then you can do things like, okay, here is the quote information from my currency with fees, right? So what's the total I'm going to pay? I can display this to the user. If I want to break it out, hey, user, this is the processing fees you're going to get for that quote. We have that information available. If you want to break it out, and again, specify from the user the absolute flow. Like, hey, this is the token you're on ramping. This is the token that you're going to actually get, right? So in this example, they're doing USD to AVAX and then finally AVAX to ETH. So hey, this is the token you're on ramping. It's going to be the AVAX token, and finally you're going to move it over to the ETH one. And here's how long it's going to take, right? You can see all of this information is going to be very low level, and then it's up to you all to specify what UI elements you want to include to showcase this information, right? So this example is simple console.log output, but you can absolutely do your on-screen representations, and it's going to be very similar for uh, crypto, right? You're going to get the quote, right? So here, if I want to do cryptocurrency, I'm going to buy with crypto quote. I can do this get on ramp quote. And then once I have that, I can do whatever kind of transaction I want, right? If a user says, hey, I'm good with this quote, let's go ahead, then you can actually execute, which is very similar to a regular transaction, right? We get our quote, we send our transaction, and then we can even wait for the receipt of that transaction, right? Did it fail? Was it minted? Was it settled on chain? What have you? And so this can seem a little, daunting at first, which is why we offer our pay embed, which is why we offer it through our Connect component as well. But the opportunity for total customized UI, you can have the look and feel you want. You can have it set to whatever, brand colors or brand images that you want. You can do all of that cool stuff with this flow. And guess what? We even have some React hooks that you guys can use as well. So you don't have to do this entirely through TypeScript. You can use our React hooks to get this information. So that way you can, directly update your UI components if needed. Again, TypeScript is also available for you all. So if you guys want to do this in a TypeScript function, absolutely available to you. React hooks, you can do that. Totally customizable. When we say you want to build a custom UI, with Thirdweb Pay, we mean it, man. You guys can do anything and everything from just these quotes, these pollings, these hooks, these TypeScript functions. You can build your dream UI to on ramp your users right through this Thirdweb Pay gateway, and so that's it. That is the end to end flow of Thirdweb Pay. Right, that is, as you saw, everything on why it's needed, what is it, how do you get it onboarded, how do you start. um any questions, anything I can share? What do you all think?
Yeah, it's interesting. It was interesting. Like I was super surprised that like I tried to code it before
Mhm.
actually when coming to the matters, like I was trying to figure out the things like how we can give the same experience of a web3 to the web2 users. So that is actually the biggest thing in the web3 world as well, that how we can give the same experience to the web2 users, right?
Yeah.
And having this easy code, I mean having this steps are, I mean this much easy steps to integrate the same thing to your web3 project. It is uh, it is really interesting and easy to do, I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, your biggest resource is going to be on that playground.
Yeah.
You can absolutely use the pay in bed component, or you can build out your own custom UIs. We have guides for all of that. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. But also feel free to mess around with it, right? You guys can pull in this code and see what it looks like for you.
Yeah, and I really hope that you all guys, I mean, almost nearly 500 people are watching this right now. So I really hope that you are walking away with some practical knowledge that you can actually use in your tab, and you can, it's really cool stuff that you can implement right now in your projects. And speaking of your projects, right? So, and feel free to share whatever you are building with us, with Mattis, with Thirdweb. And if you have any questions, query, or anything that you are stuck in integration or anything, feel free to reach out us. We are always available on the Telegram Mattis developer group channel. So we are always available for you. So all right. So I think that's the wrap for today's session. Do you have anything else to share it with fam?
uh, I think I hope you all can try this out, mess with it. Remember, you get 70% on crypto to crypto swaps, so you guys actually make money just when people swap coins. They don't necessarily have to buy your products, so you guys actually make money on just swaps. You can be a swap pool, and you guys are already making money, right? It's as simple as that with a pay in bed. Um, and so I hope you guys see the opportunities here. I hope you guys are brave enough to go through and mess around with the code base. And again, if you have any questions, as Needy said, reach out to us. We have that Telegram group with you all for a reason. Um, yeah, that's my piece.
Yep, then that's the wrap for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining, everyone, for giving us valuable time, and thank you, Joe, you as well, that for having us the interesting and cool stuff every week, every other week. Thank you
Of course. All
for
right.
the time, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.